Hello, hello, hello. How are you? This is Tanya, Coach Tanya from the Trauma Recovery Room, and I have an exciting episode for you today. This is part one of the five-part video series on Narcissistic 101, How to Leave Your Abuser. So today we're going to talk about how narcissists develop their personalities. But before I get started, I definitely want to invite you in my personal space and introduce myself for those of you who don't know me and tell you a little bit about where the Trauma Recovery Room came from. So, my name is Tanya K. Austin, better known as Coach Tanya. I started the Trauma Recovery Room about a year and a half ago. And it came about because I was in the absolute worst, and I'm sure you understand, the absolute worst relationship experience I had ever been in. Now, at this point, I had been treated so bad with this particular person and previous relationships, I had noticed that it was becoming a pattern. And when I start noticing things about my mate that I didn't like, because my goal at the time was to change him, change him, change him. I just knew it was him, which actually was part mostly true. But in that desire to change him, I actually found out what narcissism was. I related to it. It resonated very much so to who he was. He definitely had all of the traits and characteristics and qualifications. He fit the bill. So from that, I became knowledgeable about narcissism, what it was, how it affected you, why it comes to you, and what you can do to rid yourself of it. And I can actually say that it works because I am free of my narcissism. So, in my trials and tribulations as a child, I developed a poor self image. I thought that I wasn't worthy. I was abandoned very much so emotionally by both parents. My father called me the dumbest child in the world. My mother definitely allowed me to chase love. She showed me what that was about. And both parents, as well as my siblings, one said I was fat, black, and ugly. The other one overprotected me as if the world was just a big old mean place. I grew up in a very toxic environment. And because that rearing, I grew up to believe that it was okay. So I found myself accepting poor relationship after poor relationship after poor relationship. And fast forward to the last particular relationship, I had enough. So it was over for me. Again, I developed a mindset to where I was able to mentally bear the pain a little bit longer until I fully prepared myself to leave the relationship. So, from my experience of learning narcissism, I was able to take that knowledge, turn it into online courses such as this one, and teach it to other people because there is no way, shape, or form that anybody should have to endure such a relationship. It should be illegal. Like for real, it's very disheartening. It's very sad, and it hurts because you love this person, or so you think. And we'll dig deep into all of these things that I talk about later in the course or throughout this video. At some point, you'll understand everything that I'm telling you right now. So, a narcissist is human, just like you or I. They have personalities, just like you or I. They develop their personality the same way we did. So when we are young, those things that our parents do or don't do for or to us shape and mold our thinking. And thinking is key. It is vital to understanding why you chose them and why they chose you. Because we're going to talk about that in the next video, why the narcissist chose you. So just like you, and we'll go deeper into that in the next video, your parents more than likely abandoned you. They were more than likely harsh on you. They were more than likely not approving of the things that you did. They probably just totally ignored you and made you chase love, like I was saying about my mother and father. They were emotionally unavailable. They were mean. They were cruel. Somebody may have been an alcoholic or a substance abuse. Somebody in your family, a parent, may have been a narcissist themselves, and probably not knowing at the time. But just like you developed a sense from that particular upbringing to be codependent and maybe a people pleaser or a fixer or very demanding or, the boss or uh, just somebody that's on a mission to fix. When deep inside, you really need to be pointing that fixing finger at yourself because you're the one that needs to be fixed. But that relationship with your parents left you with a poor attachment. And we're going to talk about attachment styles and trauma bondings later on in the course. But it left you with a poor attachment style. And from that poor attachment style, you were left seeking validation and approval. Now, with the narcissist, it's two things. Either they were treated worse than you were, or the complete opposite. They were treated as if they were heaven walking on earth and they just could do whatever it is that they wanted to. Now, the internal roar of a narcissist gets louder and louder and louder, which they display through their behaviors, particularly with their mates. And this is because the treatment that they received as a child left them angry. Even if they were treated with entitlement, they still have an issue of anger because as a child, you want a parent to parent you. You don't necessarily, you may enjoy it as a child, but you don't necessarily as a child, and I'm talking about 12, 13, 14, 15, 9, 10, you don't necessarily want to parent yourself. You don't necessarily want to do things on your own. You don't necessarily want to venture into the world on your own. And as far as my narcissist, that was the lifestyle that he had. He had an entitled lifestyle, but at the same time, they were very critical with him just in subliminal ways. Like he would show affection, for example, and they would tell him to man up or toughen up, stop being a bitch, so to speak. So he developed a mindset, he developed a thinking that showing affection and emotions was weak. So the narcissist that was entitled growing up even still has a very fragile self-esteem and a very fragile way of seeing things. And again, we're focusing on thinking. Just as you develop the thought process to people please and fix because your life was broken and it was specifically internalized with you, you took it as if something was wrong with you. So you developed the mindset that accept abuse, accept. The narcissist, on the other hand, is angry and fed up either way, whether they were entitled, treated with entitlement or abuse, excessively abused. Either way, they want to express their anger outwardly. Your anger is inward. You suck in toxicity. Their anger is outwardly. They blow out toxicity. So, as a narcissist, and I'm talking about those that lie a lot, which most of them typically do, and cheat, and we're going to talk about that later as well. Their stories that they told growing up, either they didn't have to explain themselves, and again, this is part of their entitlement. They didn't have to explain themselves, and if they did, they thought of lies that would get them through, and they were never questioned. So they developed the mindset or thinking to see your way through is to manipulate and lie. So they developed a personality known as narcissistic personality disorder. So what are the traits of a narcissist? Number one, they lack empathy. And when I say this, I tread lightly on it because they do actually have empathy, because when you're in that love bombing stage in the beginning of it, they show you that they care, or when they need something. That's the key word. They need. When they need something from you, they have no problem with showing empathy there. So it's not that they don't have empathy. They just choose not to exemplify it because, again, showing empathy, feelings, care is seen as weakness. So a narcissist definitely knows that feelings being expressed, remember, they were robbed of that as a kid, is definitely something that they can't connect to. And as a codependent or empath person, you like to express your feelings. You like to get things off your chest. You like empathy. You like the compassion. You like the love. And for a narcissist, they don't understand that because they were never taught that. And if they do it, they are mimicking somebody that they were close to that was very empathetic or compassionate. So they're like actors. Number two, they have a deeply rooted, deep, when I say deep, I mean deep as the core can go, a deeply rooted desire for attention and admiration. And they want it in excess. This is what makes them very flirtatious and cheap. Because when they become bored in their everyday environment or relationship, they seek new things. Narcissists are very keen on freshness and newness because they like new. They get bored very easily, and you have to definitely stimulate their mind because you have to remember they're stuck in a child's mindset. So that's exactly how they operate. And another thing about the excessive attention and admiration, narcissists operate off of drama. They are filled with the confirmation or affirmation that they are better than somebody because growing up, they truly, truly, truly believed that they weren't. So, in order for them to present themselves in a false manner, and that's another one of their traits, in order to present themselves in a false manner and to cover up their weaknesses or their flaws or their insecurities, they need people to constantly feed them with, oh, you look good, or oh, you're this, and oh, you're that, and oh. So what they do in the process of that, they over inflate themselves. And that's number three. They have a high sense of self. They over inflate themselves. They seem to appear to be superior, or they think that they're superior over others. And they feel that they're overly important, and they will definitely step on your neck to get to go where they're going. To get to the top, they will definitely step on your neck. And because they have that deep desire for attention and they truly feel like they deserve it. Now, these are more of the types, and I guess it might be a balance, but these are the type of narcissists that were treated in excess of attention and admiration as a child. They want to continue that cycle. And it could also be, again, those that didn't get it, they want to actually receive it, so they have to take it because they weren't naturally trained on people skills on how to just naturally get it. Number four, narcissists are very, 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 very angry. Very angry. But just as a codependent is very angry, a narcissist is very angry. And that's the thing about narcissism and codependency. They're like the same, they're the same endings on one spectrum, so to speak. So both of their base core root problem is anger. Narcissist is just on one end, and again, they're the outwardly expressed, and empath or codependents are inwardly expressing their anger, which is why they beat themselves up by accepting abusive relationships. So in that anger, they can become abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive, sexually abusive. And when they don't get their way, when they are not receiving that admiration or attention or that high sense of self or that grandiose belief about themselves from you or whoever else, they act out. And again, temper tantrums, because they're stuck in that 8, 9, 10-year-old brain. They're stuck in that thought process. Number five, again, narcissists have a false image that they project onto other people. So, in other words, they see themselves as, like, I'll use my ex-husband as an example. He knew that he operated fully from his low self, totally narcissistic. Me, on the other hand, as he would often refer to me in his idealization or love bombing stage, he referred to me as benevolent. He did see those qualities in me because I am a very kind-hearted, nice person, loving, caring, giving, all of that. Just don't fuck with me. But anyway, He found that out the hard way. And I actually told him that the first time we talked. He didn't believe me, but he found out. He can tell that he can answer that question now. But anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Um, oh, he saw the benevolence in me. So in order for him to falsely project, because narcissists falsely project themselves, they present fake images. In order for him to project this fake image of him being benevolent, he married me. And out of all of the women that he was dating at the time, or when I came in his life, out of all of those women, I was the closest representation of benevolence. The other ones were more like him. He wasn't, he didn't want to deal with them because he knew that it would throw him off his game. He knew with me, I'm loving, I'm forgiving, I'm caring. He also knew that I had self-esteem issues. I was insecure and all a bunch of other stuff. And that's another thing about narcissists. They know that about the people that they pick. So narcissists definitely project this false image or fake self onto others, and they use their victims or people, everybody, not just their relationships, because they use it at work and other places as well, but they use outside sources, people or things, resources to them to complement that false image that they're presenting. Number 6. And I lost track of my numbers. Sorry about that. Number 6, they are definitely boundary violators. Boundary violators. And another thing about that false self-image, narcissists love to blame you for things. They love to project their anger and their frustration and their fears or whatever onto you. So they definitely blame others for everything. Again, boundary violators. They have no problem, not 1 ounce of an inch of a second of an inkling of a problem with crossing your boundaries. And the reason they do that, just like a kid testing their parents to see how far they can go in their demise, future demises, they test your boundaries to see what you will allow them to do. And this is definitely done at the beginning of the relationship because it empowers them to manipulate you, which is the next thing that a narcissist does. It allows them to greatly manipulate you and the situations that they put you in. Notice I said the situations they put you in. Most of the traumatic experiences that I've had, all of the arguing, fussing, fighting, and yes, we were physical, it was 95% of something that he did. 95%. It was very few times where I initiated conflict with him because I am not a conflicting person. When I'm in a relationship and I'm in love, I'm in love. I ain't trying to fight. When I'm going to fight you for, I'm trying to love you and receive love too. And narcissists, they're so scared of being heartbroken and being taken back to that place that they were as a kid. They will do anything, again, to step on your neck to make themselves appear higher or better than you are. They cross boundaries, again, to test your patience, so to speak. Now, I found myself with my ex-husband being his mother. And I'm going to talk about that a little later too. But I found myself playing the mother role to him because he saw me from his eyes, older woman. I was 14 years older than him. He saw me as a mother. And he had a reputation for dating older women because he had an issue with this mom who, older woman. And he tried to release that issue through those women. Although he did date younger women and tried the same thing as well. It was just that they were just as narcissistic as he was and hipper to the new versions of it. And he couldn't handle it. So in that boundary violation, they are definitely not giving a fuck about what it is that you're saying. They don't care what you have to say. They don't care how you feel. They don't care. Because again, the point of them crossing that boundary is to see what they can do in the future. Because to them, oh, well, if she let me or he let me do this, what else can I do? And that's definitely how they treat the relationship, which is why they repetitively repeat the same things. They are testing you. They don't know that they're really pushing you away. And it's funny because at the end of my marriage, this fool actually had the literal foolish mouth to tell me, you passed the test. You good. What? Like, boy, bye. And guess what? I had to respond with, oh, well, you failed the test. You bad. Get up out of here. So anyway, because they violate those boundaries to benefit themselves, they definitely are keen manipulators. I like to say that to a narcissist, you're just a pawn in their chess game. You are just a piece that they use to get to whatever it is, the ending spot that they want to get to. Another one is a rule breaker. They don't give a fuck about rules. And again, that's that boundary. Narcissists do not care about rules. They break the law, they break spiritual law, legal law, emotional law, sexual law, anything that has control over them, they are going to break it, because anything that tells their entitled asses that they can't have what they want at that time is going to experience a whirlwind of bullshit hell from their ass. And that is the God's the honest truth. Although, and that's the funny thing about narcissists, they can break all the damn rules that they want to, but you can't violate them. They do not accept them. And in the fact that they feel that way, they are very, very, very mean, very nasty, very rude, and very, very, very disrespectful. My narcissist ex-husband, I very much a violator, a boundary crosser, rule violator, everything. I explained to him growing up, I was sexually molested. I was gang raped as a teenager. And a year and a half prior, or a year prior to meeting him, I was raped by a friend. That didn't matter to him, because there were times where he would violate my body and have sex with me anyway. And sometimes where he would actually hold me down as if he was mimicking the rapist. Now, I really don't know the psychology behind that, and I can't remember offhand if those were times he was mad at me or punishing me. I don't know. The man was crazy. He thought crazy and did crazy shit. But anyway, that was interesting to me. And it's a perfect example of how they don't care. How they don't care. They will break rules. They will violate everything, every code that you can think of being a human. They will violate it and break it because they don't care. Number 9, narcissists are very selfish. Very, very selfish. Now, some, and I can say my ex-husband, he was very friendly when it came to money, because he knew it took about a year to get to this point. And mind you, we was only together for 2.5 years. And the first year and a half, he cheated. Anyway, the last year and a half was just me not giving a damn. But he was he was open and caring and giving with his money, because he knew that I could manage it better, and it made him look better in the streets. But anything else, attention, affection, love, even during sex, he didn't even care about me getting the orgasm. It didn't even matter. It was always about him. He never understood my thoughts. He never understood my wants, my desires, my needs. He never tried to please me unless he wanted something. So they're very selfish in the sense that everything is me, 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 me. My ex would always say, I'm worried about my future. What about me? We already talking about you. And I'm like, I would tell him, like, well, we're always talking about, you're always hearing me say me, 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 because we're always talking about you. Everything. In fact, our entire relationship, again, 95% of the problems in our relationship was based off of him and something he did that was stupid as hell that he didn't even have to do. Although I didn't know at the time, but 3 weeks after we were married, he cheated on me. I didn't know that. He lied, of course. But deep down inside of me, I kind of knew, but whatever. That's another part of that codependent, empathic part that they know about. That's why they do the shit that they do, because they know in our weak minds or weak hearts that we're going to feel sorry for them. We're going to forgive them, because we are benevolent. We are nice. We are. We just have to learn to reverse that and empower ourselves to be that way to ourselves. And then lastly, number 10, they are definitely con artists, aka charmers, or they got game. But it is only to benefit them. When you first met your narcissist, they watched you. They watched everything you did. And I actually made the mistake. And I tell people, I actually made the mistake. I gave him every bit of ammunition he needed to ever use against me. I gave that man my whole life story, every trauma, everything from kid to when I met him. Bingo. That's all he needed. He knew he found the perfect person. But he had to put on that role. And from our first conversation, and as I look back, I can look at it and see where he was kind of giving me red flags and tips and hints about him being a fucking fuckboy. And I didn't pay attention. But he put on this charm, this fake facade, this mask, so that I can think that he was just like me, benevolent, nice, sweet, charming, perfect. And those keywords that they love to hear, where have you been all my life? Oh, that is like a green light for a narcissist. After they hear that, oh, they're calm, cool, and collected. They don't have to work any hard. They don't have to work hard anymore because they know they have you hook, line, and sinker. So again, narcissists have what is known as a false image projection. This is where they see what they have as trophies to show off that hypes up their reality. And all of that is associated with them not being real. All of that is associated with them having a false sense of who they are. All of that is associated with being treated like shit, or either excessively treated like they were the shit when they were a kid. So narcissistic personality defined is definitely, and these are my words pretty much, but it's pretty close to what it's defined as in the books or everywhere else you go. A mental disorder when one has an inflated view of themselves and they need to be admired to constantly reaffirm their superiority, because again, they didn't have that growing up, or either they had it excessively, so you're going to continue it. They have very little regard for others. They lack empathy unless they need it to benefit them. They're very selfish, lying, cheating individuals with very fragile, and when I say fragile, I mean fragile, very fragile and low self-esteem, poor images, which they disguise through their asshole behavior. Because if you are intimidated or in fear of a narcissist, you'll never challenge them to get to that vulnerable place that they'll reveal to you that they're probably a little 8-year-old little boy or girl sucking their thumb somewhere in the corner scared. Because life has beat them up, so they feel like it's their time to beat life back up, and everything that comes their way is falling victim to their beatings. So a narcissist feeds off of those who provide them affirmation of all of the things that I just said. So if you can look back at the time when you first met them, there's a process that they go through when they meet you, and we'll talk about that later. But one of the parts of the process is called idealization. And with this, what that is where they put you on this super high ass pedestal, where it even throws you off like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know I was on that, but thank you. It geeks you up, hypes you up, puts you at a super inflated place. So when they get to the point of devaluing, which is steps later, they can swipe you from up under that pedestal and put you lower than where you started off before. Because they hyped you up to think that you were way more than what you were. Not to say that you're not good or you're not beautiful or whatever, but they hyped it up to a point to where it was toxic and poison, where it was a hidden agenda to it. So in that hyping up of the person, it feeds their false self-image that they project onto others so that they can seem bigger or better than what they truly are. So while they overhype you, they again know that your self-esteem is weak. And unfortunately for you, this is where they later again, where they get to the devaluing stage and they snatch that from you. So they use your empathy against you to protect their egos, by the way, which was developed from how they were treated as a child. So a narcissist to a narcissist, to a narcissist, to a narcissism. Again, this is their thinking. To a narcissist, you are one of two things. You are either one, payback from their childhood traumas, subconsciously done, and most often when they get too comfortable, consciously done, they don't care. But you're payback for all of the things that happened to them in childhood and all of the things in their adulthood that happened before you even came. You're going to be their ex-girlfriend or their ex-boyfriend when they angry and not giving you, when you're not giving them something that you want. That anger or that frustration that they originally felt with that first person, they're going to take it out on you. Because narcissists jump from relationship to relationship. They don't want to be by themselves. They have a fear of being alone. They don't want to be by themselves because they don't have anything to feed off of. And when they sit down and evaluate who they are, it scares them. That's why they can't be alone. So that's why they're in relationships. But while they're in those relationships, they're terrible as hell, not realizing that is what's going to keep your ass alone. So you're either payback or two, an extension of their entitlement. So either you treated them, if you look back to when you first met them, how did you treat them? Like I made the mistake of telling mine when we first got together and moved in, we first got married. Oh, you don't have to worry about anything. I got the house together. That man turned into a goddamn slob after that because he felt entitled. He felt entitled. I don't know if his mom cleaned up after him when he was a kid, but she probably did. But to him, he felt entitled. To him, that was my job. Since I owned it and cleaned it and I was his wife, that is what I was going to do. And no matter what he did, I better keep that house clean and I better make him feel good. So they do this because, again, you showed them as a superstar somewhere down the line. And it complemented their fake betrayal of love for you, but you actually did love them and you actually did see them as a real superstar in your life. So the thing about understanding narcissism is that it's all in their thinking. It's all in the way that they see things. And yes, a narcissist can change. Yes, they can love to the capacity to what they believe love is, but they will not do it because of you. So I know as an empath or a codependent people pleaser or fixer, you want to fix them. And that's the thing about the cycle. And we'll talk about that as well. It's like chasing a dog chasing its tail. You're trying to fix them. They want to be broke. You're trying to fix them. They want to be broke. They need somebody that wants to fix them and you need somebody to fix. They need somebody that want to fix them. You need, because as long as you're fixing them, you're not fixing yourself. And they're constantly destroying and demolishing your soul. Because I call them vampires. They will suck the blood and soul out of your ass if you let them. So that is definitely why I created the trauma room and this particular program. And that is the conclusion of today's video series, Narcissistic Love 101, Part 1, Understanding Understanding Narcissism. There's a worksheet that is attached to this course that you will get if you're a part of the course. If not, if you're just listening on YouTube or if you're finding this video some other type of way and you want access to the worksheet, then you can definitely send me an email, and my email is just scrolling down there now, and then I will get this to you. You can definitely follow me on Facebook as well, facebook.com, Coach Tanya's Tribe, and friend request me, and then I can work with you that way. But the worksheet that goes with this particular video will allow you to not only apply everything that I said, because you're going to have some shadow work, some questions, and some cognitive behavior therapy questions, so that it will allow you to dig deep into yourself and understand why narcissism came into your life. And it'll start revving up your emotions and your body and your soul and your spirit so that you can get a better handle on this situation. Because again, ultimately, the goal is for you to find your superpower, your super rock star self, and leave the narcissist behind. And along the way of this course and this program, you'll see that there are many tactics that the narcissists use. We'll talk about hovering. We'll talk about gaslighting. We'll talk about love bombing and idealization and devaluing and all of those things. So thank you so much for allowing me in your home and to teach you. I definitely want to say that I am proud of you, because it is nothing like, and when I say this, please believe me, trust me when I say this, it is nothing like being free from toxicity and trauma and abuse Oh my God, it took me forever. I'll be 45 in a couple of months. It took me almost 45 years to feel that way. And I thank my narcissistic husband, even though, or ex-husband, even though it was tumultuous and that marriage was just fucking garbage, I thank his presence in my life. He was just a conduit for me to answer my soul's call, which was to heal from my pain. Not only that, God had a mission for me to do, which is why I'm sitting here talking to you today. Because had I not gone through that process, I wouldn't have walked into my own purpose. And I wouldn't have known my own superpower self, my rock star self. And I wouldn't be doing what it is that I was created to do. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely send me an email. And I am going to close this video out with a little meditation. If you've never meditated or have never experienced meditation, all you have to do is just listen to the sounds of the tones. Close your eyes and inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So you're going to inhale, exhale, and breathe. And I just need you to do this for a couple of minutes so that you can begin to get close to your natural self, your spirit, and eventually your soul. So this 5-video series is started off. Today is just part 1. And we are understanding narcissism. But right now, before I go, I just want you to mellow out and listen to some meditation. Relax and breathe.